Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are diving into music psychology. Exploring how we experience music and create music and how it affects us.
Yeah,
I know you're all looking for those aha moments, those nuggets of knowledge that really get you thinking.
right.
So we brought in an expert who is amazing at connecting those dots and really revealing the so what behind the science.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Music is so fundamental to being human. It's truly fascinating to understand its impact on us.
You sent over this really cool Wikipedia article about music psychology, and that is our guide for today, our musical roadmap, you could say.
Okay.
We're going to break down those complex psychological concepts and try to make them a little bit more relatable and memorable.
Yeah.
You ready to make some music together?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay. First things first, what is music psychology?
Yeah.
The article defines it as the intersection of psychology, cognitive science, neuroscience, and musicology. All coming together to figure out musical behavior and experience, but what does that actually mean?
It's not just academics. It really helps us understand how we learn, how we play, and even compose music.
Right.
It's even used in therapy, and it impacts our daily lives in ways we may not even realize.
So it's like we're reverse engineering a song to see what makes it tick, but also seeing how our own brains tick along with it.
Exactly.
Right.
To really get that, it helps to understand how the field developed.
Okay.
So let's take a quick trip back in time.
Oh, I love a good history lesson. The article mentions Pythagoras, like the triangle guy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Turns out he was kind of obsessed with music, too.
He was fascinated by those mathematical relationships in pitch and tone. He figured out those string length ratios that create consonances like the octave.
So he was laying the groundwork for the physics of music.
Right.
But then comes Aristophanes, who argued that music is more than just math.
Right.
It has to be understood through human perception, through how we actually experience it.
He was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
He really planted that seed for the idea that our experience of music is subjective and tied to things like memory and emotion.
It makes you wonder, does a perfectly calculated chord progression actually sound beautiful if no one's there to hear it and feel something?
Oh, that's a great question. It really gets at the heart of music psychology.
Yeah.
And in the 19th century, the field really took off as researchers developed tools to connect the physics of sound with how we perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hermann von Helmholtz, he invented the resonator.
Oh, right.
Yes. This device allowed researchers to isolate and study pure and complex tones, bridging that gap between the science of sound and the art of hearing.
So for the first time, we could actually see those building blocks of sound and how they create the music that we hear. Pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, it was. And around the same time, Carl Stumpf, he used church organs to explore the unique character of sound, what we call timbre, and the phenomenon of absolute pitch or perfect pitch.
So they were really starting to dig into the nitty-gritty of how our brains make sense of all those sounds?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's Wilhelm Wundt, considered the father of psychology. He connected rhythm to those physical sensations of tension and release.
Oh, okay.
He argued that we don't just hear rhythm, we feel it in our bodies.
Makes sense. Whenever a good song comes on, I can't help but tap my foot or bop my head. It's like my body just takes over.
Yeah, it's primal. And, that's just scratching the surface of how our brains process music. The article talks about how we handle things like pitch, rhythm, and dynamics.
Okay, let's unpack those one by one.
Yeah.
So pitch is basically how high or low a note is.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
There is. Our brains are incredible at recognizing the same pitch, even when it's played at different volumes or on different instruments.
Wow.
That's called pitch constancy. Think about how you can recognize a melody, whether it's played on a piano or a guitar.
Oh, right.
That's pitch constancy at work.
So it's like our brains have this internal tuning fork that they use to compare different sounds.
Exactly. And we're not the only ones having.
Yeah.
Studies have actually found pitch-detecting neurons in marmoset monkeys.
What?
It suggests this ability has deep evolutionary roots, that maybe music is more fundamental to our biology than we think.
Wait, so we share a musical skill with monkeys. Okay, that's an aha moment right there.
Uh-huh.
But what about rhythm? What's happening in our brains when we can't help but move to a beat?
Well, remember how Wundt connected rhythm to those physical sensations?
Mm-hmm.
Our brains process rhythm not just in the auditory regions, but also in the motor regions. We're not just hearing the beat. We're feeling it in our bodies, almost predicting the next beat before it even arrives.
So that's why it's so hard to sit still when you hear a catchy beat. Our brains and bodies are wired to move. Okay, last one. Dynamics. That's all about loudness and softness, right?
Right.
But I'm guessing there's more to it than just volume control.
You got it. The article talks about how loud volumes can actually damage our hearing, which is something we should all be mindful of.
Noted, I'll turn it down a notch, but what about the positive side? Can listening to music at a moderate volume be good for us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that listening at a reasonable volume can reduce anxiety, improve mood, even boost memory and alertness. It's a great example of how music directly affects our well-being. So we've seen how our brains decode those basic elements of music, like pitch-rhythm dynamics.
Right.
But there's this other fascinating ability that some people have.
Okay.
Absolute pitch. They can identify any note without any reference point.
It sounds like a musical superpower, like having X-ray hearing or something. Do they just wake up one day and they can do that, or can you train yourself to have absolute pitch?
It's real, but incredibly rare. Only about 1 in 10,000 people have it.
Wow.
Scientists are still debating if it's nature, nurture, or both.
Yeah.
There's evidence for a genetic predisposition and a critical period in early childhood where it's easier to learn.
So if you happen to have a tiny Mozart running around, maybe early music lessons might be a good idea. But what about the rest of us? Does musical training still change our brains, even if we don't become prodigies?
Definitely. Studies show that musicians' brains actually have anatomical differences compared to non-musicians. Their neural pathways are more efficient, especially for motor tasks. It's like their brains are optimized for music.
Whoa, so playing an instrument can actually rewire your brain. That's incredible. Are there any other benefits to musical training?
There's research suggesting that early musical training can actually help with reading.
Really?
It strengthens an area of the brain that processes visual information, like musical notation,
Okay.
which seems to help with recognizing letters and could even prevent reading difficulties.
So music lessons could be a secret weapon for boosting literacy skills. That's fascinating.
It is, and it goes back to how music learning connects what we hear, see, and do. Your musicians get so good at this integration, they can instantly tell if a sound doesn't match up with the physical action of playing their instrument. Their brains are super efficient at processing that sensory and motor information.
I guess that's why it takes so much practice to get good at an instrument. You're literally training your brain to make new connections.
Exactly. But music's power goes beyond technical skills and brain rewiring. It's deeply connected to our emotions.
Oh, absolutely. Music has this incredible power to evoke such a wide range of emotions. Joy, sadness, nostalgia, the list goes on and on. But why is that? What's happening in our brains when a song gives us chills or makes us want to dance?
That's a question that's intrigued researchers for ages. One finding is that specific musical features seem to trigger specific emotions.
Okay.
Minor chords tend to evoke sadness or melancholy, while faster tempos can make us feel energized and excited.
So it's like music has its own emotional language, with different musical elements conveying different feelings. But what are those moments when a song really gets under your skin? Those times when you feel a shiver down your spine or a lump in your throat? Is there a scientific explanation for those intense emotional responses?
Believe it or not, those chills are linked to dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward.
Really?
When we hear a piece of music that resonates with us on a deep emotional level, our brains release dopamine, create that feeling of euphoria.
Are you saying that music can be addictive?
The evidence suggests it can be. That dopamine rush we get from those powerful musical moments can create a craving for more, similar to how people develop addictions to substances.
That explains why I can listen to the same song on repeat for hours. But it's not just our brains, right? Our culture and personal experiences must play a role in how we react to music, too.
Absolutely. Our cultural background shapes our musical preferences and how we interpret music. A song that evokes joy in one culture might evoke sadness in another. And then there's the personal memories we associate with certain songs. A song can instantly transport us back to a specific time and place, bringing back all those emotions associated with that memory.
Certain songs definitely have that power for me. It's like they're time capsules of emotions. But the article goes beyond those individual responses. It talks about music's impact on society as a whole.
Right. Music influences our social interactions, cultural norms, even our understanding of the world.
Yeah.
Our musical preferences are shaped by a complex interplay of personality, gender mood, nostalgia.
Right.
It's never just one thing.
So it's like music is both deeply personal and universally shared at the same time. It's fascinating how it can bring us together and set us apart. Speaking of bringing us together, what about background music? Does listening to music while working or studying help us focus, or does it just distract us? I need some science-backed study playlist advice.
It's tricky. Research suggests background music can both help and hinder performance depending on the type of music at the setting and individual preferences.
Okay.
Sometimes lyrics can be distracting, especially for tasks that require focus.
Right.
And loud music can obviously disrupt concentration.
So maybe blasting heavy metal while writing an essay isn't the best idea?
Probably not. It's really about finding what works for you in your task. Maybe some instrumental music or nature sounds would be a better choice for that focused work. And then there's how music is used in marketing. Those catchy jingles and soundtracks we hear in ads, there's a whole lot of psychology behind that.
I've always wondered about that. It seems like there's more to it than just picking a popular song.
There is. Marketers use music strategically to influence consumer behavior.
Yeah.
The idea of musical fit is important. The music has to align with the ad's message and the product.
Okay.
The tempo, the lyrics, the genre, all play a role in creating that right vibe.
So it's about finding the music that resonates with the target audience and reinforces the message, not just a catchy tune. Clever.
Right. And that brings us to music and productivity. Does listening to music actually help us get more done?
It seems like there's a constant debate about whether music helps or hinders productivity. What does the research say?
Studies show that it can help, especially if it's music you enjoy. Listening to your favorite music can boost your mood and your motivation, leading to more productivity.
So crank up those guilty pleasures. But wait, didn't we just talk about how lyrics and loud music can be distracting?
Exactly, it's a balance. While music can boost productivity, be mindful of the type of music and how it affects your focus. If you're getting caught up in the lyrics or tapping your foot instead of working, maybe switch to something instrumental or ambient.
It's like music can be both a productivity booster and a procrastination enabler. It all depends on how we use it. But let's shift gears and talk about music education. Are we all born with musical potential, or is it something that we learn?
That's the age-old question. The article discusses musical aptitude,
Yeah.
your innate potential for learning and excelling at music. It's not just about hitting the right notes, it's about having a natural inclination towards music and grasping musical concepts easily.
So it's like having a musical head start. How do you even measure something like musical aptitude?
That's been a challenge for researchers. Early tests focused on things like pitch discrimination and rhythm perception, but those weren't always reliable predictors of musical success. It turns out musical aptitude is much more complex than that.
So even if you can't tell a C sharp from a D flat, you could still have musical talent. That gives me hope.
Exactly. It's more about the potential to learn and grow musically, not just innate skills. The nature versus nurture debate continues as scientists try to understand how genetics, environment, and learning all shape our musical abilities.
It's like the music version of Our Leaders Born or Made.
Speaking of making music, let's talk about music performance. From a psychological perspective, what makes a truly great musical performance?
It's a combination of cognitive skill and artistic expression. A skilled musician integrates sight reading, memory improvisation, and physical coordination while conveying those emotional nuances of the music. It's an incredibly demanding feat, both mentally and physically. It's like they're juggling multiple mental tasks while also expressing themselves through music. No wonder those concert pianists look so exhausted after a performance.
It's a mental and physical marathon. And remember we talked about flow state, that feeling of being completely in the zone?
Yeah.
Musicians often experience this during a performance where everything just clicks and they feel a sense of effortless mastery.
It's like they become one with the music, transcending those physical limitations. And you can really feel that energy as an audience member. It's captivating.
It is. Those moments of flow are incredibly rewarding for both the performer and the audience. But unfortunately, not all performances go so smoothly. Many musicians struggle with performance anxiety or stage fright.
Ugh, stage fright is the worst. I've definitely experienced those shaky knees and racing heart before performing. It's like your body suddenly forgets how to function properly.
It's a natural response to a perceived threat, but it can be debilitating.
Yeah.
The fear of judgment, the pressure to perform perfectly, the awareness of the audience all contribute to those feelings of anxiety and panic.
It's like a spotlight of scrutiny amplifying every tiny mistake. So how do musicians overcome stage fright and deliver a great performance? Any tips from the experts?
There are a few strategies. Some find relief through relaxation techniques like deep breathing or progressive muscle relaxation. Others use cognitive strategies like reframing negative thoughts or visualizing a successful performance.
So it's about training your mind to stay calm and focused amidst the chaos.
Exactly. And sometimes simply gaining more performance experience can help reduce that anxiety. The more you perform, the less intimidating it becomes.
Like anything else, practice makes perfect. But what about those extreme cases where stage fright prevents someone from performing at all?
In those situations, professional help is crucial. A therapist specializing in performance anxiety can work with the musician to develop coping strategies and address any underlying psychological issues.
So there's hope for even the most stage-frightened musicians. It's reassuring to know that there are ways to manage those anxieties and still share their musical gifts with the world. But now let's explore another area where music intersects with our lives: music therapy.
Ah, yes, music as medicine. We touched on some of the health benefits earlier, but let's dive deeper into its therapeutic applications.
I'm all ears. Tell me how music can heal both body and mind.
Music therapy uses music to address a wide range of needs: physical, emotional, cognitive, and social condition. It's based on the idea that music can impact our brain waves, our heart rate, our blood pressure, even our immune system.
So it's like a musical tune-up for our entire system. What kinds of conditions can music therapy help with?
The applications are incredibly diverse. Music therapy has shown promise in treating everything from anxiety and depression to autism and dementia.
Really? Music can help with conditions as serious as dementia.
It can. Studies have shown that music can stimulate memories and emotions in people with dementia, even those who've lost the ability to communicate verbally. Familiar songs can trigger powerful emotional responses, bringing moments of joy and connection for those struggling with memory loss.
That's incredible. It's like music unlocks those hidden memories and emotions, allowing them to reconnect with the world around them.
Exactly. And for autism, music therapy can improve communication and social skills. Children with autism often respond well to the structured and predictable nature of music, and it provides a safe and engaging space for them to express themselves and interact.
It's amazing how music can bridge those communication gaps. What about physical conditions? Can music therapy help with things like pain management or rehabilitation?
Absolutely. Music therapy has been shown to reduce pain perception, improve motor function in people with stroke, Parkinson's disease, and chronic pain.
So music isn't just about emotional and cognitive benefits. It can actually help us heal physically.
That's right. And the beauty of music therapy is that it's a holistic approach addressing the whole person: physical, emotional, cognitive, and social.
It's like a musical symphony of healing. Before we wrap up our exploration of music therapy, how do you actually become a music therapist? Is it like going to medical school but with more melodies?
Not quite. While a strong musical background is helpful, becoming a music therapist requires specialized training and certification. There are accredited music therapy programs at universities around the world offering both undergraduate and graduate degrees.
So if you're passionate about music and helping others, music therapy could be the perfect path. It sounds like such a rewarding career, combining the power of music with the principles of psychology and healthcare to make a real difference in people's lives.
It is. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We explored the complexities of music performance, the challenges of stage fright, the joys of flow state, and delved into the healing power of music therapy.
It's been quite a journey. We've seen how music can move us, heal us, connect us, and even rewire our brains.
But there's still so much more to uncover. Are you ready to explore some final thoughts and insights in the last movement of our music psychology deep dive?
Absolutely. Let's wrap this up on a high note. Welcome back to the final movement of our music psychology deep dive. We've explored the history, the neuroscience, the emotional impact, the societal influence, the therapeutic applications. It's like we've conducted a whole symphony of musical knowledge.
And now it's time to bring it all together and leave you with some food for thought.
Yes, let's hit that resonant final chord. So what are some of the biggest takeaways from our deep dive into music psychology? What's the encore, so to speak?
Well, for me, one of the most profound insights is how deeply intertwined music is with our very existence.
Yeah.
It's not just something we passively listen to. It actively shapes our brains, our bodies, our emotions, and our relationships.
It's like music is woven into the fabric of what it means to be human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've seen how music is more than just entertainment. It's a powerful tool for learning, for healing, for self-expression, and even for social change.
Yeah, it's a universal language that can transcend cultural boundaries and connect us on such a deep emotional level.
It really is. And that brings up a crucial question. Knowing what we now know about music's influence on our lives, how can we use it more intentionally to enhance our well-being?
Oh, that's a great question. Any suggestions?
I think it starts with awareness. Pay attention to how different types of music affect your mood, your energy, your focus. Experiment, create playlists for specific purposes: relaxation, motivation, creativity, nostalgia.
Like curating your own personal soundtrack for life.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and explore new genres and artists. You never know what hidden gems might resonate with you.
Expand those musical horizons. Love it. But what about those of us who aren't, musically gifted? Can we still tap into the power of music?
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a virtuoso to benefit from music. Singing in the shower, humming along to your favorite tunes, attending concerts, even just actively listening with intention, all these things can have a positive impact on your well-being.
So embrace your inner karaoke star. What other advice would you give to our listeners who want to integrate music more fully into their lives?
Remember, music is a journey, not a destination. Don't be afraid to experiment, to play, to make mistakes. The joy is in the process of discovery, not just the end result.
It's like music is a lifelong dance, and we're all invited to join in.
Well said. As we reach the final note of our music psychology deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing what we now know about the profound influence of music, how will you use it to create a more harmonious and fulfilling life for yourself and for those around you?
That's a powerful thought to take with us. It's like music is a gift that keeps on giving if we're open to receiving it.
Precisely. Thank you for joining us on this musical adventure.
It's been a true pleasure diving deep into the world of music psychology with you. And to our listeners, remember, this was just the beginning. There's a whole universe of musical wonders out there waiting to be explored. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep making beautiful music.